Mr. Green. Can you hear me? Settings, audio. Hello, 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 hello. Testing. Okay, I'm working. I don't know how bad YouTube will get if I show him, so I'm going to black out my screen.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Well, now I'm watching your stream, so here you stupid. Say something else. Hello? What's going on with this goddamn thing? See what could have changed. I have the right stuff. Can I just like call? There you go. Is that better? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Okay, for some reason that's working. There must be something goofy going on with that server or something. Sorry to take you away from your outline.
It started.
It's I know that you were working hard on that. Also, you know, I had a thought, and my thought was when the new MLB comes out, what would you think about being like a patch like reviewer, or like when they drop new cards and evaluating them based on the meta? I had a guy who did that for Madden, and he was one of my favorite guys to watch. He was on YouTube all the time, but he would make videos just like saying these are the plus and minuses of every card, and this is usable, this is not usable, this is why it's usable, that kind of thing.
Probably not exactly that, because there are a lot of top players who already do that, so that market is kind of hard to break into.
Okay, it's cornered. I didn't know whether or not it was.
Yeah, there's probably, I don't know, probably 15 or 20 like top players who already do the card thing. So, and they're good enough to get the cards in like one day, huh?
Oh. And Madden, there really wasn't. There was one guy.
Yeah, there's tons, and they're good enough to get the cards in like one day, like way before everybody else.
All right.
So, I could do something like that, but it would have to be sort of inventive to make it unique.
Gotcha. ESPN has Freddie Freeman as the second best first baseman. Do you know they have ranked ahead of him?
Lou Gehrig.
Cody Bellinger. But that, I digress. That's a discussion for another time.
Well, that's what we're doing.
Well, I mean, when we get to Cody Bellinger, that's more of a discussion for that. You're going rogue. I thought we were doing Trey Turner. Now we're doing Freddie Freeman.
Are we? We didn't put him on the list.
We could do Freddie Freeman, then go to Trey Turner. It's fine. Well, I had some great stuff to say about Trey.
Okay. So the first thing is that I sent the link to this percentile ranking page in the Discord. So this is a lot more useful than the other one, because you just get the raw ranking of where they fall, and all we have to do is just sort of see where, put a number on these. You can't like change the stats. Like I can't add stolen bases or home runs that I can see, but it's good enough to give us the gist for most of our
rankings. I got both of them open. So there's a lot of data to extrapolate from.
So, also keep in mind that, this is 2020 and we don't want to get carried away with 2020, because some of them had career years. And
so you're saying I shouldn't
last year
necessarily buy into Travis D'Arnaud's 100% hard hit rate.
I mean, take it with a grain of salt.
I think Travis D'Arnaud is good, but
he is. He very much improved, and he reached his prospect pedigree last year.
The Mets are salty for sure.
Yeah, well, that's their problem. So okay, let's go with Freeman for now, I guess. 298 career hitter, and if you're just taking last year, I mean, we could give him, 7s and 8s across the board, but I don't know.
It's somewhat unrealistic to expect those kinds of numbers again, but
Right.
As far as average goes, he's an easy 7 or 8. We're talking several years, 2018, 2017, 2016, over 300 batting average. A couple years over 400 OBP. Yeah. Last year, almost a 500 OBP. He's 31 years old, right? Which means that he's reaching his athletic peak, or is there?
No, it means he's past.
Usually,
The athletic peak is 27 and a half.
Okay. I thought it was like Aaron Rodgers had his best years in his 30s, so maybe football is a little bit different. It's supposed to be around 30.
Yeah.
So, I digress, but he's still within the window of having great production. I think. So, average is definitely a 7 or 8. What was his expected batting average here? I gotta sift through all this data. I was also eating a bacon egg sandwich.
40?
Yeah, 341 was his expected batting average.
Okay.
So that's pretty.
So the thing with these expecteds is that it will tell you on the one of the help pages for StatCast that the longer someone's career is, the less you should look at the expected, and the more you should look at the actual career average.
Because it's a sample size, right?
Right. Yeah. And they take the expecteds and compare them to the career to make sure that the expected formula is working right, and usually they line up pretty closely.
I'm guessing Bryce Harper's doesn't. With his 460 on base percentage. I apologize. Expected on base percentage.
Let's see. What is...
Freddie Freeman's was 441, and I think he surpassed that last year, actually.
Mm-hmm.
He did. 462. So what we can kind of take from that is he was hitting the ball hard. He was making good contact. All things that you want when you have a fantasy baseball player. When you have a baseball player on your team at all. I mean, we're not looking for a full-blown recreation of last year, but certainly you're not seeing regression, like in terms of like his career numbers, averages.
Yeah, I think I have anti-Homer syndrome, where
like Homer Simpson, Home Run Simpson, Home Run Sim. What am I trying to say?
Homer.
Okay. Never mind. Go ahead.
Maybe you understand this. It's like you watch a player every day, and you watch him strike out and make errors and make mistakes, and you don't realize how good he is.
Right.
And like I watched Chipper Jones for 15 years, and I'm just like, well, he's just Chipper Jones, and then he's
or you have those times where you're like, oh, you suck, right? Like Milwaukee, people from Milwaukee have the same feeling about Giannis, right? It's like, why is he always got to be running people over, and he can't shoot 3-pointers, but he's scoring 35 points a game, 13 rebounds, 8 assists.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like he's putting up, historic numbers, and we're sitting here complaining that he doesn't have a full game when he's a 2-time MVP by the time he's 25 or whatever, So you get a little bit numb, I think, as a fan.
Yeah, last year he was just Freddie Freeman, and then at the end of the year, he's hitting 340 and he's the MVP. So, it's hard to detach and look back, look out and say, oh, well, he is really that good. So I'm more inclined to give him lower ratings because I watch him play every day. But
I think it's easier to be critical too, right? Like Christian Yelich's year last year was bad, but it was only so bad because the previous 2 years were so good. I mean, it's just a problem when you have that kind of attachment. You expect greatness every year, but once again, a discussion for another player. But you can. It was a terrible year. You don't really know where he goes from here, but you expect that it should at least improve from last season. So. But Freddie Freeman is a 7 or 8 average.
So,
no question about that. He has a proven track record of hitting over 300.
Okay, we'll give him a 7 for average on base. I think should be percentile rankings. His walk rate is in the 98th percentile. Strikeout rate is in the 91st. On base, and his expected on base was the 100th percentile. So it's, even with the outlier season, I mean, an 8 for on base percentage, right?
Yeah, I mean, the stats don't lie here. I mean, he's top. He's basically top 5 because he shares 98 percentile with Christian Yelich and Carlos Santana.
So slugging, I'm thinking like a 7, only because he's slow and because he hits into the shift.
So his expected slugging was in the, I mean, 100%. I mean, he's with Juan Soto up here. In terms of flat slugging over his career, we have 550, 505, 586, 569. So over 500. And with his on base percentage, I mean, our OPS is creeping towards 1,000 in most of these seasons, right? So a pretty elite talent. I didn't mean to open that. People don't look at my email. But yeah, I think that at times he has kind of struggled with his home run stroke, but kind of the gap power and the double power has always been there. So if, let's say, he's not necessarily, he's kind of that same guy working with the double kind of power, as you alluded to, he doesn't have the speed of some of the other guys on this list, so that maybe takes him down just a tad, right? So
I think it's 7 is fine. Home runs.
Let's look at 13, 38, 23, 28, 34. I mean, so I think it's kind of been, if you're a Braves sports fan, a beaten dead horse, right? Like that he's just trying to hit. He says he's just trying to hit it over the head of the second baseman. He's just trying to hit it over the head of the second baseman. He's obviously kind of coming to his own as far as home runs the last 2 seasons. I mean, he played 60 games, hit 23. I mean, that's a lot of power. So I don't know if you can necessarily look at previous numbers on this one to fully understand the power aspect, because I would say it's got to be at least a 7 here, right? In home runs last season, he ranked. Let's get to the top here. Top. Why can't I find him? Freeman. He had 13, so he's top 30. So he wasn't elite in terms of last year, but it's not really everything. I mean, Adam Duvall had 16, it was 14. So I don't know. I think you could expect an uptick. There's an echo in my audio. Thank you for pointing that out. Let me hear it real quick.
I didn't hear it. Now there is no audio.
It's coming through my stream, Mark.
I didn't hear it.
Oh, okay.
I hear it on mine.
I couldn't tell.
It's probably because, for whatever reason, it's picking up the wrong audio.
There's no audio.
It's coming through my stream, Mark. Let me see here real quick. Sound.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I couldn't tell.
It's probably because, for whatever reason, it's picking up the wrong audio. So weird. Audio input can't. Oh, okay. Why do I have 2? So weird. I think that should fix it. It's just so weird. I don't even know where it came from because I don't have a new source. It's just in my mixer, so who knows? But thank you for pointing that out. That's very helpful. like you said, it's hard to know when something like that's happening. So obviously, we as streamers, we appreciate it when you point that out. What's going on today, Chris? Anything new? All right, sorry. Thank you for indulging me there for a second, Mark. So strikeout rate. You wanna start off on this one? I gotta get my numbers.
So last year is 14.1%, but his career is 19%. So I don't expect him to keep up what he did last year. So if just based on last year, he's probably like a 6 or 7, but I'm not counting on him doing that again. So I'm going to say like
he was in the same percentile as
5.
Juan Soto. Yeah, so
I'm going to say like a 5.
yeah, that puts him in the same range as Juan Soto, so that's probably about right. Ooh, juicy. We get to talk about Freddie Freeman.
Well, this should be easy.
I'm probably gonna say like a 1 or 2. It's definitely not a 0. He had 2 stolen bases last year, so it's like a 1 or 2. I say we give him a 2 because that's how many he had last season. Seems like an obvious choice.
I'm going to say a 1.
He's not Albert Pujols. He's not Miguel Cabrera. But he's definitely not even David Fletcher. So, so 1.
I would say 1,
Yeah,
but we could do 2. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
1 is 2 is fine.
The thing to kind of extrapolate from this is you're not picking Freddie Freeman for stolen bases. And I think you know that. I know that. It's not complicated, right?
Right. Over the course of 6 months, he might not steal a single base.
And you should probably expect that.
Right.
So we got.
He finished first in the majors in runs, I think, right? So that should be pretty easy.
Let's look. I'm going to look at his previous season's numbers here. Freddie Freeman was top 10. And then 2020, you said he led the majors in runs. So that's elite company. So it's at least 7 or 8, right? He's at the very top.
Yeah, it depends on more who's hitting behind him, but that will be Ozuna and d'Arnaud. So
if you're having all the pieces from last year and he led the league in runs last year, then you should expect that the numbers, given that he stays healthy, stay pretty consistent.
Yeah, RBIs should be 8.
I kind of go back and forth on this. Let's look. So 53, 121, 98, 71, 91, 66. Now, I feel like so I believe in Freddie Freeman. So I was a long proud Freddie Freeman hater. And it's because his home run power and his RBI numbers were a little bit average, but he's definitely turned a corner, especially since 2 years ago. So I tend to just lean on the 7 versus the 8, because if we're talking about elite RBI production numbers, we're talking about that 120, which he's capable of. But I also for the player, and I think Freddie Freeman is a great pick because I don't think you're really ever going to get less than the numbers that we're giving you here. He's not going to give you. He's not going to be abysmal unless there's some sort of horrible injury that he gets, right? So
right.
A 7 is not a knock against him. I think he's the fucking little engine that it could. He just chugs along. He's going to give you consistent production, and consistency is way more important than ebbs and flows or peaks and troughs, right?
Right.
Anything to say, expound upon that, or do you agree with me?
Well, so when I'm looking at RBIs, I'm looking at the ability to produce. So his average OBP is slugging and home run. We're saying are elite.
And you could
and then I'm looking at the lineup.
You could use my own argument against me that he has the same lineup as last year. So the reasons that I said for runs could just mirror for this right here, right? So,
Right. He's going to be hitting behind Swanson and Acuna. So
I have
they're going to
protection
hit.
from Yarno. I have trouble with
Right. He's
Darno's name. And
Darno.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Ozuna. Um, so
So he's in the middle. He's not leading off like Acuna or Trout or Betts. He's going to be in the middle of a pretty good lineup, hitting behind some great hitters.
I mean, so we're arguing over
And
a
we're
point,
saying
right? So,
and
you know,
right, and we're saying that he's an elite hitter, maybe one of the best hitters in the major league. So, I mean, I'll say 7 just to
well, I say I
put the
definitely
middle,
I don't
but
have any problem with giving him an 8, you know, but like I'm saying is it's not that the 7 isn't because I undervalue him. It's because I think that he's more of a value because of what he could give you. I think that there is more ceiling potential. Um, uh, but I think there is variance. So, I mean, so if you look at uh, Mike Trout and Freddie Freeman, right, who are probably your biggest, two of your big favorite people in the world. Actually, Juan Soto's there too, but I don't necessarily disagree with Freddie Freeman being 1 point below Mike Trout.
yeah. And the point is really not to differentiate Trout and Freeman or Betts, and it's to get a complete ranking at the end.
Right.
And to differentiate Freddie Freeman's from, say, David Fletcher. There's a clear distinction between those two.
And I would say that we right now have a 14-point difference between them, and they're, I mean, in reality, there is a much larger difference between David Fletcher and Freddie Freeman than 14 points. But David Fletcher does things, whether they be small or whatever, but he does do things better than Freddie Freeman, like not strike out, right? So, but I mean, there's a time and place for that, but there's a reason why we're ranking it to juxtapose them against each other, right? Okay, but we digress from Freddie Freeman here and kind of move on to Trey Turner. So I was kind of just taking a peep at the numbers here, and I was never really a Trey Turner lover, but if you look at last season was kind of a total breakout. In 59 games, he had 12 home runs and 41 RBIs, batting .335 with 12 stolen bases, which are his bread and butter. But yeah, he was balling out last year, unbeknownst to me until I looked at the numbers, and that's why I think it's important to look at the numbers because my God, did he was having a good year last year. But in terms of the actual statistical numbers, we can get in that right now. So,
Yeah, I'm not sold.
So let's 335. So what we can take from that is he was a bit lucky.
He's a bit fast.
That helps too.
The expecteds don't take sprint speed in enough. They've changed the formula to make it weigh more, but it still doesn't weigh enough. So the faster players are going to have a big differential between their actual and expected.
So, his exit velocity was 90.5, which put him at 48 with the league of Mondesi and Dylan Moore. However, see, this is kind of the.
It's not great.
Yeah. Okay. I thought he was right around the area with Mookie Betts. Yeah. So Mookie Betts is 45. But what Mookie Betts and Trey Turner both have is great speed. 8 years old. For now, I think so we're talking about 27, 28 Trey Turner, 33-year-old, and lacking speed. But for now, I think that, the speed makes up for a lot of issues, right?
He's the fastest player in the major leagues.
That always helps.
Yeah.
And actually, Shohei Hotani is 28.8. That's a little bit weird. I didn't know that. Anyway, I digress. But he's very fast. And his speed will help kind of buoy his average um, as as long as he stays healthy. And I think that's the biggest issue and one of the reasons why he was successful last season. 98 and 73 and 27. The 27 I assume is his. He just kind of got a peek into the major leagues, but 73 and 98 games, it's a little bit rough. You're not getting a lot of return if you're not getting even barely a half a season on the guy. What do you think?
So let's look at the average. Let's see what he looks like.
So let's look at where he was.
I think he can. I think he can hit 300 because he has growing power. Fast. I don't think we have to worry too much about the batting average. And his strikeout and walk rate were pretty good. Well, the strikeout rate was good. The walk rate wasn't, but he's putting the ball in play, which is, what you want a fast player to do. So he's improving there, and anybody that fast who puts the ball in play that much is going to have a really high batting average.
So yeah, like the difference between Trey Turner and Byron Buxton and Billy Hamilton. I mean, like, so when you look at Trey Turner, you're looking at like a Ricky Henderson type, right? Where you have all the speed, but you're able to actually hit. I mean, like,
Right.
We said this in every video game and every sport. Speed is a cheat code. Speed, it takes the differential in all these different categories and just kind of compresses them, right? Like, you're not a great fielder. Well, if you're really fucking fast, it helps be a better fielder. You're not a great hitter. Well, if you're really fucking fast, it makes you a little bit better, right?
Right.
And his expected batting average was top 10, right? And he did not live up to his expected batting average, but you can expect a few hits. He'll get a few hits that he shouldn't get, right? Or more than a few, because of his speed. So
Right.
I think in terms of, do we think average he's like a 6? I feel like 6 is proper. I mean, because he did bat 335 and then 298, but then a 271 and 284 too. But once again, this is a floor, not a ceiling.
It all depends on if he keeps the strikeout rate down.
Right.
And
And he's, I mean,
I think
he has all the
I think he
potential
won't.
to play up because of that lineup as well.
Yeah, so his K rate was 90 in the 92nd percentile. His whiff rate was in the 82nd. His walk rate was in the 42nd for
Yeah.
average.
I was thinking about a 6. I don't think that you're going to be necessarily disappointed, but it's a gentle balance, right? You have the speed. I'm going to just go over here and do this real quick. I just put an 8 in stolen bases. I don't even think it's worth our time or anyone else's time to even discuss it. So,
I don't know.
you don't know? The 46, 43 stolen bases, 35, 33. It's once again, and maybe it's worth noting, and maybe even worth deducting points in certain areas, that he has a issue with health, right? Okay, I don't know what Jacoby Ellsbury could have been if he could have stayed healthy, but he was very good. Now, his home run numbers would have taken a dive no matter what because he was playing in Boston, and then when he left Boston, whatever. But his consistent injuries not only hurt his ability to produce in that year, but hurt his ability to produce in the future. On and off the field, he started just not playing at all. He may still be getting paid by goddamn New York at this point. I have no idea. But I think his health is one thing to definitely take into consideration when drafting. And like we were talking about with Freddie Freeman, consistency is key, right? It's not about... Bryce Harper has huge weeks, but he also has weeks where he is just a fucking barren wasteland. So Trey Turner, I think, is a little bit volatile in that respect. And even if his numbers come out, I don't know if he's worth spending the pick or cash in our situation. But let's
That's
look
what
at
that's what.
Kobe.
Uh, yeah. So his walk rate was in the 42nd percentile, which is. But again, I expect the K rate to go up again or 5 for on base percentage.
So it's kind of funny. His on base percentage, as I'm looking here, expected on base percentage, Trey Turner is 372. Okay, I thought that it was 312, but that was Ian. So his on base percentage was 394 last year. It was actually higher than his expected. So once again, um, there's some discrepancies in numbers here. As I alluded to when we first started talking about Trey Turner, is he did bust out last year, and did he bust out
Right.
because he played better than he had in the past, or did he bust out because he was lucky or he was fast? I don't know.
Right. It's
there's some volatility here, I think.
His expected is lower because he did draw a lot of walks and he's fast.
Mm-hmm.
So I expect that, and he didn't hit the ball hard. 90.5 is not anything special. So it's not terrible, but it's not special. So I'm thinking like a 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Um, hit percent was in the 58th percentile. So he's not hitting the ball as hard as some of the other guys we're talking about. So his slugging probably regress a little bit. Either because he can either get bigger and stronger, but that's going to slow him down just like every other player. So I'm thinking 5 or 6 for slugging.
I think that you select this player, Trey Turner, because he gives you stolen bases, and then you're looking for some other things, right? And he can give you, I think, the average at a level like 6, right? And the slugging can kind of come along with that because of his speed. He did hit 12 home runs last year in 60 games. So that leads me to believe he's capable of about 30 home runs. But that was a year that was special. And his special year only got him MVP, the 7th in MVP voting, unfortunately for him. But his normal is probably teens, 20s, but it's hard to say because he hasn't really had a fully healthy year other than 1 year.
Yeah, I'm not sold.
And then let's look at expected slugging was 521. His actual slugging was 588 last year, but he had never in a 73 game season he had 567 slugging, but he had never really gotten above that. And in his year that he played a full season, he had 416 slugging. So this is a pretty probably average power hitter. Like,
Yeah.
not even like necessarily for his position being special. Probably like a, I don't know, 4 or 5 in terms of power. And remember that it is a juxtaposition to all positions, not just shortstop. So he's probably a pretty good power shortstop, not special, but in terms of power in general, he's a 4 or 5, I think. His speed is once again another factor, but we were just talking about slugging and homers kind of in the same breath. and I think you should probably expect the same. And I don't know. I guess you agree because you wrote it in there. Right?
Yeah, so I'll give 5 for slugging and 4 for home
Yeah,
runs
that's
because
right. That's right.
power comes from his legs. The strikeout, it was really good last year. I don't expect it to stay the same because he's not walking enough. Um, it could be like a situation where, like Ketel Marte last year, where his strikeout rate didn't blow up, but they started pitching him differently because he wasn't taking walks, and they started pitching him on the corners, on the edges, and he was swinging at that stuff, and then he was getting weak contact, and it gave him a terrible year. So uh, I expect them to change the way they pitch Trey Turner. I'm not going to look up his pitch charts and all that stuff right now, but
Right.
I expect that to change. So that's going to affect his strikeout rate. And but it was good. It was good last year, so I'll give him like a 5, but I'm not expecting much.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've kind of talked at length about his strikeout rate, and that we think that it's going to probably come back to normal and he'll come back to earth, right?
So runs
it's
are
kind of funny. He was top 5 in runs in 2020, but in 2019, he was 37. Now this could have been because of the games played too. But I mean, he was in the same league as Josh Donaldson, Gleyber Torres. Paul DeYoung was better. I was unaware of Paul DeYoung's 97 run season, but so you could sit here and say, well, if he played 162 games, he would have been top 5. But the problem is that Trey Turner's probably not going to play 162 games. In fact, it's probably a certainty. I think it may even be a certainty that he won't play 150 games. So his run production is good, and in a shortened season, you see if he can stay fully healthy, he's a top 5 run producer. But I don't think that is something that we should expect because of his issues with injuries. So I don't know. He could be like a 6 or a 7, but I don't think an 8 is correct. I think a 7
yeah.
or 6 would be better.
I would give a 7. I would give an 8, but there's the injury stuff and there's the volatility with his strikeouts and his on base percentage. But I would give an 8 because he's hitting in front of Juan Soto.
Juan Soto
by
makes
God.
a lot of people a lot better. Yes.
So, and that's how you score runs, because the people behind you drive you in. So, but because of the volatility, I'll give him a 7.
I mean, like I want to like it a lot, but there's just too many variables that make it uncertain. And like I'm going to repeat this over and over again, but this is basically a consistency chart. It's about what we think their averages will be, where they sit. Obviously, if you're averaging an 8, that's pretty fucking good. And 7s aren't too bad either, but if you lack that consistency, it's a problem. So RBIs,
4.
it's pretty weak. And
Yeah, he's gonna hit it. He's gonna hit behind the pitcher, and he doesn't have a ton of power. He's got some, so
I mean, he
think a 4.
probably, if it was a full season last year and he played through it, he probably had 100 RBIs. But we can't stress this enough. Last season is, it's an externality. It's a data plot that's way against averages, and maybe this is who he is going on, like from here. Like maybe he is this good, and he is in his prime, 27, 28 years old, and he's going to have his best years. But I would bet against it, only because we don't have the data to back it up. Now, if you want to be bold, go for Trey Turner, but certainly like these other guys are. If you're doing an auction draft, right, some of these are $30, $40, $50, maybe even higher than that acquisitions. And Trey Turner feels like a 20 some dollar acquisition. We haven't really talked about dollar amounts like that, but I don't think you can spend that much money on Trey Turner and feel like you're going to win anything. Yeah, and if you're taking it by round and someone gets Mookie Betts and you get Trey Turner, that doesn't feel good, I don't think. But he's a good player. He's got, obviously, he's the only 8 for speed we have evaluated yet. So he has his skill sets, but
we haven't gotten to Tim LaCastro yet.
yeah, we're going to get there, though. Hopefully, we will not be doing Tim LaCastro. Does he fit in the top 250? I will give you Nick Madrigal, okay? Or Garrett Hampson or something. Is Nick
Right
Madrigal
now?
fast?
We're going to do Nick Madrigal right now?
No, we're not doing Nick Madrigal.
Yeah, he's fast.
Okay, that's what I thought. Next on the list would be Jose Ramirez. This might be a toughie. Okay, let me ask you a question straight out of a cannon. Yeah? Trey Turner or Trevor Story?
We haven't gotten to Trevor Story.
Right, but I'm asking you now.
Probably Trey Turner, but
Ooh, I'm kind of on the Trevor Story side, but let's continue that conversation after we've done Trevor Story, which I think is the next person that we'll be doing after Jose Ramirez. It is. Oh, god damn it! I gotta stop clicking on my email. All right, Jose Ramirez is average. What? Okay, I put in Jose Ramirez and it didn't. Whatever. So expected batting average for Jose Ramirez was 265. And his actual batting average last year was 292. So this is just pure luck because it's certainly not speed. Actually, he's got 10 stolen bases. You know what? I did not know that he had this kind of speed.
yeah, he used to be a big base stealer back in the day.
He had 34 in 2018. It's not even really that far back in the day. He looks like too big of a guy to be stealing that kind of base, but
He's kind of short. It's 5'9".
Well, then I'm kind of short, sadly.
For a baseball player.
For a baseball player. Okay. So his other 255.
I'm not on the Jose Ramirez train here.
Yeah, probably like a 5 for average. I think the expected batting average is definitely more indicative of the output you'll see. I mean, he had 2 huge batting averages, 318, 312, but I think those years are in the hitting.
So if I recall,
review, for sure.
Without looking at his numbers by month, he had a pretty terrible start and a pretty good finish. But I'm probably leaning more on the terrible start. I'm not expecting much from the batting average.
Okay,
And a lot of these players coming up, I'm just going to shit all over them because.
Well, that's what we're here for. That's what. Let me see if I can pull up his 2020, like advanced hitting here. 2020. Also, this will bring up his kind of splits and things like that, right? So, against right-handed pitching, he bats 259. Well, in 2020, and against left-handed pitching, he's batting almost 400. Isn't he left-handed? No,
He's a switch hitter.
Okay. He also bats significantly better at home than away. 317 at home, 271 away. It's not that big of a gap, but it's better. So July he hit 429, August 202, and then September and October 366. So August was his big kind of like dip in production. So he did not start out slow necessarily. Well, it was only 8 games in July. So yeah, I guess you could count it as a start. He did have a weird start and then kind of picked it back up. At any rate, he is not a 300 hitter. I don't think you should expect that. He has done it in the past, but I would probably say that the 275 range or lower is what you should expect.
Yeah, I'm going to say 4.
I was in the 5 category. Who else do we have? Acuna is a 4, and we're saying like that's a 250 to 265. Yeah, I mean that's probably about right. 250, 265 with good power, right?
Right.
On base percentage. Let's load the expected stats here. On base expected with 363. His actual on base percentage was 386 and 327 the year before that. So it doesn't give you a lot of confidence in a player when their expected at batting average is lower, or their on base percentage or batting average is lower than what they produce. That tells you that there's something additional going on there.
Yeah,
That you should
he
not
does
be
have a
missing.
decent walk. He has a decent walk rate, and he's not slow. So I think it's fair to give him a 5 or 6.
And the thing that should be noted here is the on base percentage is not buoyed by any sort of exit velocity, right? He's got an 88.7 average velocity off the bat. Let's see where that puts him. That puts him 95th. So not really special exit velocity. So yeah, did you say about a 5?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's fair.
that's about right. I think we're settling into our formula here. We're really burning through people now.
We'll get faster as we go because we're just going to start knocking down numbers.
Yeah.
About when we get to people we don't give a shit about. Expected slugging was 510, and that puts him in the 84th percentile. He's been a pretty consistent power hitter as long as he's been able to hit the ball. So
Well,
I think 5 or 6 is fair.
here's the thing the percentile tells a lot, but I also like to look at who he's sandwiched between. Okay, so he's 35th. 37th is Tim Anderson. 36th is Anthony Santander, and 34th is Rhys Hoskins. Above him also is
Right.
Paul Goldschmidt, Adam Duvall, and Cole Calhoun. And Trey Turner is even above him there. I think the point that I'm trying to make here is the slugging or expected slugging is not special when you put him in this company.
Well, maybe that says something about the company he's in.
Then it's instead of him.
And, yeah, meaning that we need to reevaluate the company that he's in. They played better than we thought.
I don't think I'm reevaluating Adam Duvall. And Miguel
Adam
Cabrera
Duvall.
was 28th.
Adam Duvall was pretty good last year,
Uh,
especially toward the end.
I don't know. I mean, Jose Iglesias was also 40th. And
He had a good year.
actually down here,
He was a
too,
double machine.
Mookie Betts is 46th. I don't know. Anthony Santander, I think, is kind of a one trick. Tim Anderson's pretty good. But, and I always have said Paul Goldschmidt is, I'm happier to get Paul Goldschmidt than, what's his name? Third base from Colorado Arenado. And Hoskins is kind of gross. But I don't know. His slugging was decent expected slugging, and then his slugging was actually 607. So slugging, and then we put Control F. Ramirez, that put him 7th, and that's I mean, the kind of gap. The gap is large. It was 100 points between his expected and actual slugging percentage. So once again, we're seeing discrepancies, and this one a pretty large one for Ramirez. I'm not excited to spend any money on this player, really, if that's the kind of things we're seeing. What says you? What say you? I guess is current.
I think a 6 is fair.
He's got good power. There's no question. And this is another situation where I think he could play up, but the numbers from last year may have indicated a resurgence, and I'm not buying into that. Like you, because he's had really good years. Like MVP voting, he was I think 3rd twice. Yeah, and a silver slugger 3 times. MVP, he was 2nd MVP voting last year, and I'm not seeing those numbers in his future. But he is like a 6. He's a above average power hitter, which if we're looking at 4 is like an average. And let's see, home runs last season. He was 4th. And the season before, he was not 4th. He was 89th. So this is kind of another situation of variance, and it might be like a 5 or a 6. I guess 6. He's had good home run years in the past. We're looking at 39 home runs and 29 home runs, but if he's hitting in the home run range, that's not special.
I don't feel bad about him hitting 30 home runs. I think that's a safe bet.
He has only done it once.
I think he can do it again. I'll say 5.
And he plays a lot of games. At least he did between 2016 and 157, 152, 152. Played 152 games that hit 11 home runs one year. Probably like a 6. I don't know. I mean, what's his age too? He's 28. We're probably looking at the best years of his life coming up.
Maybe a 5.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough because this is a very inconsistent player, and here on this channel, in this discussion between me and the Mark Bryant Green, we don't deal in inconsistencies. It's not a way to win a fantasy baseball championship.
We don't like it in head-to-head leagues for sure.
Right. 16.9% K rate. What percentile does that put him in? Pretty high, huh?
It's 79th percentile.
Oh, so not actually that high.
It's all right.
Is that indicative of his?
I believe that's about his career average. Yeah, pretty close.
Let's look. Strikeouts per season. Strikeouts. Is this right? He had 69 strikeouts in 152 games, and then 80 in 157. He had 43 strikeouts in 2020. So that would probably put him on pace for about like 110 strikeouts or something. So he doesn't strike out that much. That's a pretty good metric for him, I guess. I don't know, like a 6.
Yeah.
That seems
That
about
works.
right. That feels right. And then stolen bases, the surprise of the fucking evening. That's probably like a 6 or 7 too. I guess 6. Can't be a 7, but 6. He has had 24 and 34 stolen bases. He probably would have had 26 or something last season if he played a full season. I don't know. That's pretty good.
We can feel confident that he's going to run and he's going to get steals. It's not like a surprise stealer. I mean, he's gonna try a lot and he's going to be successful a lot. So
yeah, he was about 70% success.
Yeah, and he's a good. He's not super fast, but he's a good base stealer. He's a smart base stealer, like a Jason Worth or Shane Victorino. So I'm pretty confident that the 6 will hold.
Yeah, that's the kind of the one thing in his entire stat line here that we can kind of be sure of. Oddly.
Yeah.
Um,
Runs, I don't know because that lineup it was a bad lineup that got worse. So, not feeling the runs or the RBIs.
I'm looking at 2019 stats, and it doesn't look like he was even in the top 100. Oh, yeah, he was 119.
I don't even know who's hitting behind him or in front of him, or all I know is Lindor's gone. So
Cleveland Indians 2021 lineup. Let's see if they have a projected lineup out there. Cesar Hernandez, Ramirez, Eddie Rosario, Franmil Reyes, Josh Naylor, Roberto Perez, Andres Jimenez, Oscar Mercado, Daniel Johnson. Yeah,
Yikes.
nobody in this lineup is doing this man any favors.
We'll say a 5.
Absolutely not. Franmil Reyes, no sir. I've been there, been on that train and won it off. Yeah, that's a rough one.
And 5 for RBIs, I think.
Yeah, it's rough, man. 46, 83, 105, 83, 76, 27. I don't know.
He'll probably
80? We're looking at 80 or something? Between 80 and 90?
Yeah. It won't be terrible because he'll hit a little, but who's he going to drive in?
I think we're starting to see a pretty significant drop off now. What is that, 42? 15, 20, 26, 32, 37, 42?
Well, I think what we're seeing are players that, you're looking at the ESPN list, players that will work in a 5x5 because of the stolen bases who aren't as nearly as impressive in our league.
Right.
So when we get down to like a DJ LeMahieu, he's probably going to push 50 because he does strike out and he does everything except steal bases pretty well.
DJ LeMahieu's kind of a rock star in our league.
Yeah.
So now we're doing Trevor Story is next. And then after Trevor Story's Cody Bellinger, who will be not someone that I will be drafting this season. Unless I can get him for like $8 or something.
Well, we'll see what it looks like.
If Caitlin Carranza was in here, it'd be like a $260 Cody Bellinger, all in. Believe in
I'm not bad talking people.
Oh, I am. Fuck the police.
I'm not gonna bad talk the fucking police either.
Yeah, I've done that too much.
I don't have anything bad. I don't have anything bad to say about the fucking pigs. So I mean,
about those fucking donut hoarders. Is that a thing they call donut hoarders?
What?
They hoard.
I heard
donuts.
you cut out. You said fucking. I don't even hear what you said.
Donut hoarders is what I said.
Oh, you went into auto tune.
Oh, am I T-Pain? I'm T-Pain.
Kinda. You got that sort of
do you know
robo
T-Pain
sound.
is?
Huh?
Do you know who T-Pain is?
Yeah, I'm aware who he is.
He's actually in love with a stripper. That's a song of his. Sorry. Okay, let's get back on task here. Trevor's Story.
You talking about the one that plays for the Rockies?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Looks pretty fucking awful. God damn. He's next on the list? Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Jesus.
He has
These
one,
are and
two,
these are not
four,
even
five,
like
6, 7, 8. He's the 8th player, our 8th batter, with Garrett Cole.
so
Shane
this
Bieber
is
tucked in there.
this includes the extreme split he's gonna have at home and Arenado's gone. So holy goddamn. I don't even know what this is gonna turn out. This is the kind of thing where I'm like, maybe the other people in our league shouldn't see this because we're just about to shit all over him, and maybe they should pick him. And I don't want to help
Dude,
him.
I'm
but
not that much of a hater on this player. So
I'm goddamn. This is awful. Good lord. And this again, this includes Coors Field, and it's still his expected slugging was 455. Am I looking at the wrong numbers? God,
what's his expected?
that is horrible.
Expected slugging was indeed 455, but what was his real slugging? 519.
Okay, maybe this is
Perhaps there's a huge Coors Field like.
yeah. We're gonna see that with Arenado too. Yeah, it's
Let's look at the.
yeah.
Let's look at the batting logs here. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Not batting logs. I wanted the.
It's because he's not getting the exit velocity at Coors Field, but the ball's still traveling.
Right.
So he doesn't have to hit the ball 98 miles an hour to get it over the fence.
He has great lefty-righty splits. He hits 330 against left-handed and 275 against righties. And at home, he hits 333, and away, he's bats 246. So
Jesus.
let me tell you this, people out there in fantasy world. If you are going to draft Trevor Story and he's not playing at Coors Field, just sit him. Just fucking sit him. Like
that goes for every single player that you get that plays for the Rockies. Sit them at home.
Like
Or, well, away.
And he actually played more games away than at home last season. That's not good. Although he did hit more home runs away than at home by 1. It's weird. He's such a better hitter at home than he is away, but the numbers end up being even.
And think of this too. In a head-to-head league, you don't want a player like committed to a player like a Trevor Story, who you're going to have to take in the first or second round, who you have to sit like in a random week that you need to win,
like
or the playoffs.
Look at his playoff schedule or his schedule while you're in the playoffs, and just see like if he's at home for 3 weeks or something.
Right. That's fine for Ramel Tapia, who you can just drop, but not a second round player or first round player.
This is a first round player.
So a guy that you need to play every single day, and you can't because he only plays half his games at Coors Field. So let's let the shitting all over him begin. Okay.
I put Stroy.
Thank you.
For some reason, it was bothering me that his name was not there, so I had to micromanage. I apologize. So
his expected was 253, so
he ended up with 289. This is such a hard thing to rate because his numbers are so lopsided at home. Like, you can expect great numbers at home. I suppose we should probably just continue the method of thinking that we've been using, and that's consistency is key. So like
right, and he's not going to have any
unless he's at home.
That's what I'm saying. He'll have a good series, bad series, and it's just
I think my dad will overpay.
You can't count on him from week to week.
On Trevor's Story, which I'm okay with.
That go for it, Papa Ivanchenko. That will be your problem.
That he will. overall, the numbers are going to come out to like 280, but I don't think you can like in good conscience put it above like a 4 because it's going to be so bad elsewhere.
Well, I mean, there's also, he will fucking rake it home. So,
5? I don't know. Like,
um, yeah, I think 5 is fair.
it's like almost like you should put a Barry Bonds asterisk next to his name because he's cheating at home.
Yeah, pretty much. Um,
Oh, his on base percentage.
so yeah, his actual overalls are going to be pretty good, but you know, again, because it's a head-to-head league, if it were Roto League, I wouldn't be so down on him. But um,
His expected on base
it's a
percentage
problem.
was 322, and his real on base percentage was 355. I think that these numbers are literally just Coors Field. Like, because once again, you don't like to see a higher on base percentage than what expected is, but I don't know what his expected batting average was for the previous season, but he had an even better on base percentage that season. And it's probably all contributed to his uptick in average and stuff at home. His exit velocity is 89.9, so nothing special. That puts him between
His walk rate isn't either.
That puts him between Nick Solak and Victor Reyes at 65th. Yeah, I think you should expect about the same from OBP as average and the same from at home versus away.
I'm going to say 4 and on base.
I'm with you on that one.
That's only because the walk rate is not good. That's only because he plays at Coors Field.
And his strikeout rate
slugging,
is 4.3, which is
bad.
He's approaching diabetic, almost diabetic here. Pre-diabetes.
So slugging, I think the 5, the same as the average.
Expected 455, actual 519, and he's pretty much always had over a 500 slugging. The OPS ends up looking pretty good, but that's what I should. What was his slugging at home and away? I think that's a pretty telling stat. So at home, his slugging was 573, and away it was 466. And then slugging versus righties is 485. Slugging versus lefties is 609. He's pretty much the epitome of like the ultimate splits hitter.
Yeah, but
be at home against
you
lefties.
can't have a splits hitter in the top 10.
I mean,
you got to play. So
yeah. I mean, it's just like taking Matt Joyce in the top 10 or something. Matt Joyce was very good against right-handed pitching, power-wise. But yeah, like you said, it's not worth that investment.
Home runs, I think 5 again.
I think it could be a 6. I mean, 35, 37. It's pretty good home run numbers, especially at shortstop. Once again, it's a view of the entire league, but he's got pretty good power numbers, especially at home. Let's see what his 2019 home runs versus away were. He hit 24 of his 35 home runs at home, and he only played 3 more games. He had 56 RBIs at home and 29 away, and only played 3 more games. 30 more runs at home, 21 more hits. It's very telling when you look at it like this.
So strikeout rate improved last year. It was his best season, but it was still 24.3%. His career is 28.6% over. I don't have the total. 2,500 plate appearances, so that's not good.
I mean,
so I'm going to say a 3 to maybe 2.
Likes his strikeout players.
Well, that's fine with me.
What number were you?
I'm going to say a 2 or 3. I think maybe a 3.
Yeah,
I'll be nice.
He was the bottom 40th percentile in strikeout percentage.
Mhm.
It's pretty bad.
I think steals will be about the same as Ramirez. Only a 6.
That's good. Let's see where he fell in runs last season. Story. He was 12th in runs in 2020 and 10th in runs in 2019. Perhaps it's pertinent or important here to point out that he is going to be without Arenado. Did they replace? Let's see.
I don't think it'll matter.
Okay. Let's see what we got here. Tapia, Story, Blackman, McMahon, Fuentes, Diaz, Hampson, Rogers. Pitcher. Yeah. I don't know if Charlie Blackman batting third is really.
Yeah, I don't think it'll matter because everybody who goes to Coors Field hits at Coors Field. So, I mean, Arenado's getting 140 RBIs a year. So put anybody who you want at third base. It doesn't really make that much difference.
With arms.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like a 7, I think. He's top 10.
Yeah.
Runs.
RBIs, I don't know.
85, 108, 82, 72. I mean,
That's
like,
the 6.
Yeah. I mean, runs, RBIs, stolen bases, home runs, that's kind of where he's kind of feasting. The average, the on-base percentage, the strikeouts are where he's lacking. I mean, he's basically the same thing as Jose Ramirez. So, like, if you look at 9 and above, you're seeing, well, not Fletcher Cabrera, but everybody above that, other than those two, are all like complete players, more or less, other than Freddie Freeman's stolen bases. But now we're getting into more specific. What's the word I'm looking for? Category specific players that have very clear deficits, and that's why you're seeing a whole 15 points of difference between Juan Soto and like a Trevor Story.
Mm-hmm.
Juan Soto could fucking hit at the Polo Grounds, and maybe not home runs, but he'd fucking have gap power. All right, so we got about 28 minutes before I have to go. I think we can slide in one more, right? I don't want to show that anymore. So next up is Cody Bellinger. And then next time we do this, we lead off with Christian Yelich, which will be an interesting discussion. So, if you had to give a 1 to 10 confidence level on Cody Bellinger, like, where does that sit? Where are you?
Confidence in what?
His year next year. I sit at like a solid 2.5.
He's had 2 half seasons of bad baseball, so I don't feel too good about him.
Yeah, this is another element
I mean,
of uncertainty.
He is where he is because of 2 years ago, or the first half of 2 years ago, and since then he has not been the same player.
And he still won the MVP in 2019.
Right, because his first half was, I mean, he hit 400 for like 2 months.
Okay, so batting average. Let's go to StatCast here. Find out his expected batting average was 284. Real batting average 239. Sounds like my man's hitting into the shift. Exit velocity is not impressive. 89.3. I could see this player being a 250 hitter. So in that respect, that's an improvement. But We're talking like a 3 for average here, because he could easily bat below
3?
250. Yeah, I don't see him. But do you see him batting above 250?
And
Because
he can. Obviously, he has plenty of talent. I don't think a 3 is fair.
okay, so so this is my metric here that I'm looking at. Acuna and Ramirez are 4s, and they're between 250 and 265. I think that this is a 250 or less hitter. Maybe we put him in the same realm as them, then he's a 4. I mean, let's look at.
So the difference is that Bellinger has a much lower strikeout rate than Acuna, and he's much faster than Ramirez.
Much faster?
Than Ramirez, yeah.
I think he. Let's see how many stolen bases Bellinger. I guess we could also look at his sprint speed.
Than sprint speed. He's fast.
Sprint speed, he has an 28.6. That is very fast. If 30 is the top.
Tonight. First percentile.
And that could end up being more hits. I don't know. Do you think he's then like a 4 or 5? A 5 would insinuate like a 265 to 280 range. Do you think he's capable of bringing it up to that level? I mean, he's only hit over 270 once. Otherwise, there's been 267, 260, 239. So
well, clearly he can an 8 across the board. I mean, he could be an 8 in almost everything. He can, but that's what he's not going to be.
But the problem
so
is,
I think
it's our consistency rating, right?
Right. So I think a 4 is fair.
Okay. I'm looking at his pitching splits here. Last year, 252 against righties, 216 against lefties. At home, he was 229 and 248 away. It was pretty much abysmal in July, which was 8 games. But he did bat above his batting average in August, September, and October. So probably a 4 is about right, between 250 and 265. On base percentage, you said his walk rate is pretty good, right?
Right. And his strikeout rate's pretty low. So he was 86 percentile last year. So I think that's
12.3 puts him at 44th in the majors for walk rate. And he's 155th in the major leagues for strikeout rate, but it's very good compared to some of the other guys we were talking about. Oh, wait. Okay, case percentage kind of works the other direction, I just noticed. Where for some reason they put the top K percentage at the top. That's interesting. There's a extremely... Okay, that was fucking weird how they do this. Anyway. So we feel pretty good about his on-base percentage. 333. What was his expected on-base percentage? 374. So he actually underperformed. So this could be a player who could actually be better than his metrics showed last year. I'm thinking the shift had a big impact on that.
I don't know what
it's definitely scary though.
I don't know what his problem is, but clearly he's a top 5 player if he turns it around.
Yeah. Especially with that speed.
But the sample size at this point is too big to project that. So
his expected slugging was about 500, and he batted 455. So this is the kind of player that people might shy away from, and that you might be able to get cheaper, and that you're probably best served trying to get around like a $20-some mark. I definitely think that I'd rather have Cody Bellinger than Jose Ramirez or Trevor Story.
Well, we'll see what the final total is when we get there.
That's a good point.
I think the slugging should be the same as the average. Seems about the same area.
You know who had the lowest expected slugging in all of baseball?
Let me guess. It feels like a player that was my team that I've shut out of my mind.
He's certainly gross. 497 puts Cody Bellinger at 42nd for expected. So you think his slugging is a 4? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he's 82nd percentile in batting, 81st in expected slugging, so
Okay.
it's the same.
Okay. With definite upside.
Little.
He hit 12 home runs last year, so that puts him at about 30 on the season this year. So that's, I don't know. Was that like a 6?
6.
Think about that lowest expected slugging, though. Let me tell you what it was. It was a crispy 280 slugging. In the company of Jonathan Villar and Cedric Mullins and Nicky Lopez. With an exit velocity, the lowest in the league of 82.2. Well, I'm sorry, that's not the lowest. Yep, it is the lowest. I lied.
Is it Hanser Alberto?
Hanser Alberto is second in average exit velocity with 82.3. And his slugging was 322, or expected slugging.
I don't know.
Victor Robles with an anemic 280 expected slugging and 82.2 average exit velocity. That is a player that moves totally and completely on his sprint speed, which is not even the best sprint speed. So, anyway, I digress. Strikeout rate, I assume, is very high, right? Or no, it's not.
It's not. He's good. It's probably 5, 17%.
Yeah, that's what puts him at. Oh God, did I do it again? Yeah, it's so stupid. If you click it the one way, it gives. Okay, so he's 49th in the majors in strikeout rate from last year. So yeah, 5 is good. He's got a pretty above average stealing base skills. Maybe, I don't know, is he like a 4? He's got 15.
Hi tab off, how are you doing? Sir? Oh, what'd you say?
15, 14, 10 stolen bases, and last year it had 6.
Well, he's got plenty of speed, but he doesn't run much, and he doesn't have to in that lineup, so
3 or 4?
I think a 4.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me.
Runs.
Let's see. This is where we get to the counting numbers. Let's look at 2019. He was 6th with 121. 2020, he was not. He was 47th. But the lineup is very good. I don't think we have any questions about his ability to score runs in that lineup. Probably about a 5 or a 6.
Yeah. I think, 6 for both of these, probably. Even if he has a kind of a down year, he's still going to get plenty of runs and RBIs.
Right. I think 6 implies 90 to 100 runs, which is probably going to be very easily obtainable. He did have a season of 121, but before that, 84 and 87. But as we said, very good lineup, full of all sorts of punch. RBIs 30, 115, 76, 97. He was 47th last season and 6th the season before. I'm sorry. I totally fucked up. I didn't look at RBIs. Here we go. He was 10th in 2019 and 62nd in 2020. I think we see I think the kind of trend that we're looking at here is probably an uptick in slugging and batting average, which I think would, in the end, in that lineup, result in more RBIs, which you've already put 6 for.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, is that fair?
I would say 6 or 7. That's good.
Okay, this is 45. So yeah, I guess he does come out ahead of Turner and Ramirez. Ramirez. Story. Yeah.
I mean, so and the thing is, I think people will be happy to jump at Trevor Story and Jose Ramirez, especially Jose Ramirez after the year he had last year. But instead, I think that we would probably suggest that Cody Bellinger is a better selection than all 3 of those guys.
Yeah. The upside is extreme.
Right. I think that I would rather bank on Cody Bellinger's upside than Jose Ramirez's upside. Nothing against Jose Ramirez, pretty good player, but I think you see holes in his game where if you look at the statistics for Bellinger, most of them stay pretty flat. Between 4 and 6, right?
Right. Yeah, we're talking about a player who's still pretty young with extreme speed. He's very fast. He plays a premium position at first base, and he's plays the best lineup in baseball, and he's got great power, MVP. I mean, if he has a bad year, he's going to do all right.
I think we 6, 12, 16, 21, 27, 31, 37. I think it's 42 for Bellinger.
Is it? Okay.
10,
I must have
20,
added
25, 29, 35, 41. Okay, I can't count. Let's read. Okay, so 4 and 6 is 10.
14,
20,
20, 25, 29,
35,
35,
41.
41. Okay. I don't know what I was looking at.
I don't know either, but maybe you just wanted Cody Bellinger to be better. But anyway, I was looking at,
Maybe.
I was comparing Ramirez and Bellinger by category, and I saw that the math did not add up right. But still, despite what the numbers say, so our ranking is kind of due to the bad half seasons he's had. But despite the fact that he's a 41, I think that I see more upside, and maybe that's another category we should put in, as a next column, just whether we see upside or regression or just kind of consistency. And for most of this top half, it'd just be kind of consistency. But for Trey Turner and Jose Ramirez and Trevor Story, I think those would be all regression, whereas Cody Bellinger would be progression, right? And maybe we can let's talk about that today, whether or not that's something that we should be doing or interested in or whatever.
Okay. We only have about 300 more players to go, so we can
there's
decide
going to
after
be
we do that.
35,000 more categories, but that was really great. That was fun. We continue. We're probably. It seems like an impossibility to get this done by the time of the draft, but most of them
all on stream. We'll have to, some of these I'll do and you do, and then we go back and look over them because for the sake of speed, we can't do all this on stream.
Well, I've become worried. I mean, what we could do is we could do some today at your house, and then we could recap it on stream and then do a few more as well tomorrow.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, but you got to go get to getting your outline done, and I got to skedaddle. So really fun. I actually love doing this on stream. It's really great. I don't know if
this is fun.
It's not necessarily doing anything for my Twitch metric, but I hope it's helping you out, though. It's more kind of in your range of what's the word I'm looking for? Like your people.
Just chatting.
Yeah,
just chatting.
You're just chatting, and you have a baseball background, but.
You say that like I played baseball before. I haven't.
Well, I just mean like you played baseball on your stream. You weren't exactly having a catch with fucking Midnight Graham or some head ass fucking.
Who is Midnight Graham? Is he related to Stevie?
Burt Lancaster played him in A Field of Dreams, or The Field of Dreams. He like came in and threw one pitch, and then that was his entire major league career. And that was like it. And then they pulled him, and then he went back to the minors. And he's a pretty major plot point. Have you ever seen The Field of Dreams?
No.
Okay. Well,
No, sir.
Well, my dad always does a Burt Lancaster impression, and he does this.
Uh-huh.
He just does this like ha 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 ha. He always does that because he does a weird laugh.
That's strange.
Yeah, well, that's my dad for you. Anyway, I definitely got to scoot. Continue this tonight, and then we'll recap possibly tomorrow. What time is it? If I'm able to kind of knock stuff out, I can kind of keep the same timetable as we did today, like from noon to 2, if you want to do that. Well, yeah, tomorrow, if you want to.
Okay.
All right. I will see you in a bit, okay?
Okay, talk to you later.
So long. And stream, that is going to do it for me as well. Thanks for